Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I hope everybody's doing well. It's time. We gotta have that talk, that discussion. Everybody's tripping out about World War III, and I'm just like, okay, is Russia gonna jump in? I mean, they're like giving information about American targets, much like America did about like Russian targets for Ukraine or whatever, supplying arms. It's just like this Cold War esque, proxy war bullshit. And people are like, jumping the gun, thinking that like, oh, Iran is just going to be this like stretched out conflict and shit. Let me explain what this conflict basically is. So Iran is a stupid ass country with fucking retards that have starved their own people out for, decades. They didn't know how to properly irrigate their land, and they have a surplus of salt in their soil. Now, normally, if you're a first world country, you could just be like, okay, fuck it, and I'll just order a bunch of fertilizer from wherever, and then like ship it in, plane it, by shipping container, or whatever, and then just like exchange the soil basically, like take the bad soil out, which is all salinated, and put the good soil in. But like, oh no, gotta spend our money on missiles, dude. Like hundreds of them, thousands of them. Fuck, even still to this day, like they're trying to like they have like hidden missiles. They got like a hidden missile in Egypt, like it opens up the top of the pyramids, the Sphinx. It just like launches it. It's like a missile. Like so, the guy opens up his garage. The missile just like comes out like a tow truck. Launches it. I'm being serious, dude. There's this like a report back in Lebanon. These motherfuckers were hiding missiles inside of houses and shit. Like, can you imagine? Um, but this is like where I have this like theory that there's like a lack of ownership in this like faith or religion or whatever ethnicity. I call it the Punjabi, pedophile ethnicity. Because it's like once you start connecting like these qualities about them, like you can't shy away from it. It's just like woefully apparent. It's all too obvious that it's like they fit this like mold, like off an assembly line. You know what I mean? Like they pretend to be like individuals, but like they have no inner monologue, no inner dialogue and shit. And they're nepotism. And like let's be honest, if I had like nepotism from my parents, my family and shit, I'd be in the same position more or less. But like that is because there is no selective nepotism. Like you're not going to be like, oh, I'm the son of like famous actors or whatever, athletes or like an inventor or whatever. They're just like children of workers, laborers. That's the majority of them. The funniest shit too is like how even to this day, these fucking douches, these fucking retards who are like trying to game the system to stay in your country, getting jobs as like hardcore, truck drivers and shit, are killing up people. Like the accidents that these fucking retards are getting in, they're calling them the usual suspects. And you want to know what the usual suspects are? Fucking retards who don't know how to use deodorant, who wear turbans, who have a neck beard, who think about like raping girls and shit in their fucking trucks, you know. Try to run grooming gangs, have people covering up the grooming gangs. They're getting pissed because like, oh, look, when the Ayatollah right got fucking killed, everybody started realizing that there was going to be large sums of the world's population, guys mostly. And you see this a lot, right? Like, a perfect example is the Arab Spring, right? You have the Arab Spring, and then it's almost as if guys were being cloned, were being like literally manufactured on like, some kind of like Attack of the Clones type shit off planet, you know, coming to invade you and stuff. And it's like, where are their mothers? Where is their like female family? Like they don't have any sisters, nothing. It's just guys for some reason. And then you start like asking questions, and then you start getting answers. Oh no, femicide. What's that? Oh, it's the realization that like not everybody like guys like specifically, but sometimes the women in their families do it too, and that's why they're all fucked up and like that and shit, and why they're like trying to bash these girls for being free, for wanting freedom and stuff, saying that like they're adulteress, they're trying to undermine their country, their nation and shit. People are complaining about the gas prices, but like, what is the pounds of flesh that you need to justify, okay, this isn't right anymore? What is the pound of flesh that you need? Like, if we lived in a world for an eye, we're not really doing business with people. We're doing business with like a set group of people who enslave the rest of the people of their country. And we've been doing business with people like this forever, ever since we're long before we were born. And it's become so normalized for us that it's our status quo. Like I said before, like City TV was running a headline that the son of Khomeini was the new elected leader of Iran. Okay? The media is running defense for a dictator and the violence that has occurred against the women and shit. Meanwhile, you have the Iranian protesters, doing their, belly dancing, handing out flowers to the cops, having, their posters and stuff, having their Persian flag, they're showing off. I got it wrong, by the way. Javed Shah was the former Prince of Iran. The new Prince of Iran is Reza Shah. Sorry about that. I've been getting it wrong the whole time. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not my culture. It's not my, like, place to speak on it. But, like, I feel as if, like, I have to correct it because I was calling out, like, the previous leader the whole time. Like, oh, I'm sorry about that. I think that's, like, some of the pictures that the protesters are holding up was the former Prince of Iran or the ruler of Iran, king, maybe. It's king, right? Yes, kids. So most likely, right? Excuse me. But like the the fact that like the rest of the world, even Trump is dragging his feet with calling out this new guy as the leader of Iran because it's like most likely this is what I hypothesize, right? The Shah of Iran is going to think favorably about the Iranian people. And when you're thinking about like why there's so much poverty, why the real is trading for both zero on the pound and the US dollar. So it's both. And then you have to think about, well, what kind of business is the country conducting? Like, where is their money going, right? So basically, they can't like make a profit from anything like any exports that they have. So what they're doing is they're selling their fuel at a discount, and people are just rubbing their hands together. China, Canada, most likely because of our news cycle, CBC, like they're running defense for the Iranian regime. Um, Trump is hesitating to call the Shah as the new leader of Iran. Like it's so many people, so many world leaders who are buying this like fuel at a discount price because there was no exports, there was no like credible like thing outside of like raw minerals and resources. Like if there's like gold exports or this or that. To my knowledge, though, they had gold coming into them, not the American people, from courtesy of Obama for some hostage release, but like to my knowledge, they don't have like high reserve of gold or natural resources. To my knowledge, like they have gas, they have oil, natural gas, whatever, and that was the hustle that they were doing. They're trying to like you know sell fuel for cheap to other places and shit like that. And now that they can't do it, there's like a huge embargo on them. Like it's crazy because just seeing how like so many world leaders, because of a dollar sign or a price, are willing to just, obfuscate the obvious war crimes that are happening against the Iranian people. Like the actual Iranian people are a completely a completely different aspects to Iran over the regime. The regime in Iran is like a cancer that has taken hold and has controlled the country for years. And all these people who say that we shouldn't go to war is unnecessary, we have been at war. These people who are enslaved by the Iranian regime are the human shield, right? For these like dictators, theocratic dictators, using religion as their shield. And then their children, you know what I mean? Like their children are, going out partying, having normal ass weddings and shit. Whereas if a normal non-government female tried to have a wedding and she wasn't wearing a hijab or her shoulders were showing, they'd stone her, dude. They beat her. It's more like an excuse, right? It's like, oh shit, she's not wearing whatever, right? Let's go rape her type shit. And then you have a society that's like built off of that. Like, what does it do to like not just the men but the women in your society? It just turns them into fucking demons and shit. Like, this is why that like you have these like very vitriolic women, not just who are for the Iranian regime, but also internationally. Like you see them, like their faces are fucking twisted and ugly. A lot of them are like looking old. If they're not like actually old, they're like looking much older for their age. They try to like pass off this sass to you because they're a girl, but at the same time it's like it's like you know what I mean, like this like boy trying to pretend to be a girl type shit, and it's just like it dawns on you that like the genders aren't all that different, and it's like this psychological exercise that we both the genders play with each other, because it's like, okay, one gender has a much different vocal cord range and also like a body mass um like contrast, if you will, to men, right? So you create these roles in society that separates the two genders, but like you don't necessarily have people fitting these roles. Right? And like, remember what I said about having multiple like women who will have your kids and stuff, and then like not having a woman lose their bodies. Like a lot of times, dude, these guys, right? They'll have, and look, dude, there's nothing wrong with this because I have like a grandmother who had multiple kids, but they'll have these women who have like kid after kid after kid, and like by the time they're done, and it's not always the case, right? Like my grandma is probably like a best example for me. For some reason, she stayed like thin and everything, and like everybody on my grandfather's side of the family, they weren't like fat or anything. They're just like tall and big, like really big. But like, okay, we said like my grandma would probably be the exception. She had like 7 or 8 kids, I think. But then my on my father's side, my grandma had 9 kids. So like my to give you perspective, like like once you have that many kids, once you're like basically sedentary at that point, right? And a lot of these like ethnicities, these enclaves, if you will, like terrorists, people who are anti-American, whatever, they have. This is like a very human thing. But this is where I want you to like take note, pay attention, and then make your own assessment, because this is what I think. Okay, I think that this was purposefully done to diminish and demoralize the entire female gender, because you have this role that has thrust upon a female, right? She is, the provider, the caregiver, the stay-at-home mom. Just cute, yeah. A lot of people grew up with a stay-at-home mom. I did. and then you have it systematically where this becomes the norm. You have these women in these cultures who are de facto concubining, birthing an entire race of people for the sole purpose of power, a voter base, protection, to spread mental retardation, inbreeding. To change the human genome from K type reproductive strategy to R type reproductive strategy. Yeah, we gotta have that talk. We're having it right now. 15 minutes in. I'm glad that you're sticking around because we're gonna get into it. Oh yeah. Like we haven't already got into it. We're gonna get into it even further. Because this war is gonna determine the human race. Yeah, it is. These guys, this is why these guys are who they have no sway or control over this war. They're very much the victims of this war, and when I say victims, they're going to be left behind, right? They're cheerleading for a side that has pushed the human race behind decades, if not generations, in terms of technology and cultural advancements, and et cetera, et cetera, right? You can even argue that, like, some of the Balochis who are having a civil war with Pakistan. While Pakistan's having a civil war with Afghanistan, it's gonna be a fucking messy one, man. Because with the Ayatollah gone, right, there are no women who are basically slaves in that region, to my knowledge. Like there could be other um, groups that partake in this action. Like this is unfortunately a very common quality of this area. Like you could even look up a place, I think it's called Kyrgyzstan, and one of their practices was they, like Vice News made a fucking documentary on it. It's like, yo, this is how I met my wife. He just like ran up to this girl, sees her like whatever. He's with his homies and shit, and they're like a fucking Jetta, like old school Jetta, or like yeah Volkswagen, right? Volkswagen Jetta. And it just like grabs her and sticks her in like the back of the car and just drives away. Oh man, Vice News made a thing about that. You see like the picture, the guy's looks like his mouth is open, and then the girl he's like kidnapping looks like his like family member, his sister. And I'm telling you, that's what generations of inbreeding will do. It will do that to the human race eventually. Where you have like a point of no return in terms of like genetic dispositions, if you will. Well, like we got to talk about the mold, because like the problem with the child rape Punjabi ethnicity is how they're carbon copied inbreds. They have the same sense of fashion, which is outdated 2 decades ago. They haven't fucking discovered how to use deodorant. And now that the neckbeard supreme leader. Now you're wondering, what does this have to do with the Sikhs, right? Well, of course, it's like the turban, right? It's like, come on, man. Put two and two together. You look at the Iranian flag, and you look at the Punjabi, like whatever, right? Their symbol, little like sword and like God child. And then you look at the Iranian symbol, it's like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that these people are kind of related. You know what I mean? So now that he's been killed, they cannot have access to women that were basically slaves. And even though you just said that, Well, I want you guys to like think back to like the case of Elnaz Hajtamari, right? Which was this girl who was dating this, I think, another Iranian guy, so Mohammed something, right? And then I don't know what happened between these two, and then he sent out a hit squad after her. And guess who the hit squad was made up of? Your Punjabi Sikh hitman who will like threaten the girl. just like, beat her death to death, basically. Like, took a frying pan to her head, like, left her with like stitches and brain damage and shit. And then like, yo, I was wrong too. It wasn't the guy who has my last name. It wasn't Singh. It was this guy named Binner. Thank God, dude. Fuck. I thought it was the other guy. Like, fucking, you fucking idiot. You hit a girl over the head with a frying pan? You fucking call yourself. This is why I hate when the guys with the last name Singh, are involved in crimes like this. Drags me down, right? I gotta fit into this fucking retarded ass mold, beating on women and stuff and shit like that. They get just like paste, they get squeezed out. The pedophile assembly line, they fit into this retarded mold and they pass it off as individuality. The end result is generations of child exploitations, inbreeding, and the retarded nepotism to ensure the subhuman genes curb stomp the human race. Yes, I said it. So when you see these people, right, they're getting like fucking family inheritances and they're driving around their fancy ass cars and shit. Just remember, like, as long as you don't associate with them, like globally, like overall, we're fine. And this is why, like, it's a good idea to have, like, a lot of girls just to like think about like this. Like, let's say you have like mm, one, two, three girlfriends, right? And of those girlfriends, maybe two of them want to have kids, and one of them just wants to be your friend and shit, just for like the safety aspect of like, I'm just with you. I'm like this amount of age. I like your other uh children who have like, sorry, the women who have your children, and then like, they're friends with them, and then you're just like, this kind of like, it seems weird at first type family, but then when you realize what the alternative for them is, like, again, you're doing them a huge ass favor. Like, what the fuck is the alternative? And they like have this idea, or these fucking ugly ass guys who most likely are gonna have ugly ass kids with these girls, and the girls know this, right? Like, the money, they think that it's good at first, but then when you realize that it's not, and like, yo, the best thing in this world is to show people how to make money. Like, yo, truth be told, I have this guilty pleasure. I watch this nofapper, right? And this motherfucker, like, can't stop talking about nofap for like, I think a decade plus he's been talking about this shit, if not. And he just looks the part, like he looks like a fucking gooner and shit, right? And not only is he one of these like, what I mean, nepo babies and shit that like, is just there to ensure to pass on their fucked up genes and shit. But this guy got jacked up by his own friend and shit. And he made this video. I'm just like, wow, it was like a long ass video and shit. And I'm like, whatever, man. You just like, hating on this guy because you're part of that scamming, like, culture and shit. You got scammed, even though, like, this is how I feel about you fucking self help coaches. Like, oh, go fuck all yourselves and shit, eh? But like, the reason why I bring this up is because it's more of the fucking same, my guy. We take all the girls. We clean house. Okay? Don't fuck around. Just work out. Um, be you. It's cool, man. And don't feel bad about it. Like, when you're confronting, like, their families and this and that, they're gonna take one look at you and they're gonna realize one thing. As long as, like, you're honest about it and you're good looking, like, you can have kids with them and they're in better hands and everybody's happy because there is a way out for these women, right? And it's not just me, and it's not just the guys. There's also girls that are going to do this for these guys, or just on the lonely side, so that like you don't have these fucking lonely ass guys doing these shootings or whatever it is and shit. I mean, it sounds bleak for them, but the way I see it is, they wanted it, they asked for it. I mean, it's kind of like more of the same because it's like you got your parents giving you your whole fucking life, And it's just like, yo, you got your wife, you know, sharing you with other guys. More of the same for you, and more for me.